Rafe, I mean, clearly this was a sensible move by Macron.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you say, in light of those terrible protests we've seen, not just for the pension age, but also as well for the general cost of living crisis, I don't think there was any other decision that could be made. I mean, you can just imagine the PR for the two palaces, the Elysee Palace and Buckingham Palace, if this had gone ahead, because, you know, just the scene alone of the king and the president surrounded by the extravagance of a state visit. Nothing is more glamorous than a state visit, especially, you know, the glittering white tie and tiaras ball that would be held, the state dinner, I should say, at the Palace of Versailles would immediately draw comparisons, of course, with the extravagance of Louis XVI during that other cost of living crisis in 1789, which, of course, we all know culminated in that French Revolution. The timing is a shame. As you said, they were going to go to Bordeaux, but the Bordeaux town hall was actually set alight. One of the key factors that would have actually spurred Macron's decision too. But the timing is a shame because, as we know, after several years of tense relationships, there seems to be a bit of a new entente cordiale between Britain and France, with Rishi Sunak and his really petite Macron enjoying something of a bromance. And the visit would actually have been the first occasion when the king would have addressed, the first time a British monarch actually would have addressed the Senate. But this will go ahead at some point in the future, so all those plans will just be put onto the back burner. And the state visit that we're expecting to Germany will go ahead, where the king will also become the first British monarch to address the Bundestag.
Rafe, did you just call the Prime Minister Macron petite? That was very, very, very diplomatic of you. Very nice indeed.
The French term, you know?
The French term, of course, yes, of course. So King Charles, how will he be taking this? I imagine he was probably very much looking forward to it. His first international state visit, was it not going to be?
Well, of course, you know, as we know with the election of a president, for example, the very first countries you visit on a state visit takes a lot of time and consideration and careful planning, and there's great emphasis and there's great importance behind there, subtly. And of course, we know how important the monarchy is as a soft power weapon in the British diplomatic arsenal. So the British government were actually the key force behind this visit. The king was very supportive of it as well, and he'll naturally be very disheartened that it couldn't go ahead. But of course, His Majesty has had more than his fair share of knocks since succeeding to the throne, and I think it would have been extremely unwise in light of everything else that's happened in recent months to do this, particularly when we are literally almost just a month away from the coronation itself.
Yes, I'm sure he'll get over it, and hopefully it will be rescheduled sooner rather than later, but that depends on what goes on in France, I suppose, more than anything. Now, I want to ask you about something else. Prince Andrew is back. Apparently, he wants to reveal all in some tell-all biography.
Yes, look, as if one spare wasn't enough, Prince Harry, we've now got the original spare, Prince Andrew, contemplating his own tell-all memoir, Spare 2.0, as I think some are calling it. The motivation, we're told, is that Andrew wants to be able to give his side of the story about his relationship with Jacob Epstein, believing that no one else will do it if he doesn't. And if those reports are true, I would just remind Prince Andrew what happened the last time he tried to put the record straight, which resulted in that catastrophic BBC Newsnight interview with Emily Maitlis. I'd also remind him, actually, that although Prince Harry's book made a lot of money, it was an unmitigated PR disaster for both him and for Meghan. It was upon the publication of that book that their poll rating plummeted to new lows, whereby in America they actually have a lower approval rating now than Prince Andrew himself. And of course, they made themselves great figures of ridicule by everyone from South Park to Chris Rock and late-night American talk show host. So does Andrew really want to expose himself to that sort of ridicule? I think it seems actually that it's financial necessity that's actually the driving force here. We know that he's fallen on relative hard times financially, and he's a man who enjoys expensive comforts. He didn't get any inheritance from the Queen, and the King is dead set to slash royal funding, which means that Prince Andrew may not be able to afford to live at Royal Lodge, and he's dead set against moving to the downsizing to Frogmore Cottage. But I just wonder, actually, whether, if I can end on this by saying, I think maybe this is all just a bit of a ruse by Prince Andrew, perhaps, to make this, have this story leaking now just before the coronation. This might be the only form of leverage he has to get
Well,
the
yes.
panelists to meet at the negotiating table.
Well, there's a question for our viewers at home. Would you buy Prince Andrew's autobiography? The